Welcome to the Green Margin Podcast, where we talk about the financial and operational realities of running a cannabis business. I'm Daniel Sabet, and today we're talking about what it actually takes to manage dispensary teams and grow a retail cannabis brand across multiple locations. Opening new stores is only part of the equation. Once those doors open, the real challenge becomes managing staff, keeping teams motivated, and delivering a consistent customer experience. And as the market matures, operators also have to stay on top of the shifting product trends, consumer preferences, and operational demands of running multiple stores. So today we're going to talk about what it looks like from the perspective of someone managing it day to day. Joining me today is Mandy Morton, the manager of Locals Dispensary in Columbus, Ohio. Locals also opened a second location in Cincinnati just last year, and Mandy now helps oversee operations across both stores. Mandy, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's start with your role. You've been managing the Columbus store, and now you're also involved in the Cincinnati location. How has your day-to-day life changed since the company expanded to 2 stores?
It's changed a ton. Obviously, I went from spending just about every day in the Columbus store to having to share my time between the 2 locations. And Cincinnati is about 2 hours from my house, so it's a little bit of a truck. So we realized early on that we really had to rely on our systems and get those systems in place. And consistency is clutch for us. Both stores have to be running somewhat similarly and 100% similarly on the policy side. We're obviously a very compliant space, so having SOPs in good order and having them continuously updated for both stores is really important for us, just to help me from having to travel so much from store to store every day.
Yeah, I can see how that could be quite a burden. But I'd say besides the traveling and the distance and all that, what is the biggest difference between managing one store and managing multiple locations? Even if they were next to each other, just the idea of having 2 and certain balancing acts that you have to do.
Yeah, it goes from having one really great operational store to trying to mimic that. Even if it's right next door, you can't clone people. And our Columbus store has amazing customer service. It's one of the reasons that people come back every day. So when we opened up Cincinnati, we had to somehow make that work with a brand new set of people. And that was really hard to do. We went into it recruiting, looking for people that were excited to be in the industry and wanted to slow down the pace. We were moving really quickly in Ohio as a fast track recreational market. And we try to exist in the middle where we can still take our time with customers and patients and focus on that customer service versus just churning people, hundreds of people throughout the day. We get our hundreds of people throughout the day and we spend time with them. So it's really nice that we've been able to mimic that in Cincinnati as well.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I've talked to so many different dispensary owners and managers, and that's what you said. It's exactly what they always tell me. It's the volume is important, but obviously, if you provide that good customer service, the volume will come. You'll get better retention. People will come back more often. They leave with a good feeling of what a great experience I had at the store, and it's not going to be a one-off for them. They're not going to. It's not like they're just passing by and well just get my product and leave. It's, oh, the store is so welcoming. They're so educational that they help me pick the right products. And next time I run out, I'm gonna come back again. So I love how you guys are on the same page with some of the people I've spoken to about this. And I think long term, it's a good strategy for sure.
I do too. We tell our team that we want people leaving the store thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next time to come back. And we hear that. We hear that when people are leaving intake and our person up at the desk is saying, bye, have a great day. And they're like, hey, can't wait to see you next time. And I think that's a really great sign that our team is doing a great job.
Very good. Now let's talk about your team and the motivation behind everything. One of the biggest challenges in retail I've seen is keeping teams motivated and engaged day in and day out. How do you keep your staff energized and focused on sales while still making sure customers have that great experience?
Yeah, it's really hard to incentivize. At least we get to sell weed, so it's helpful that it's a fun product and people are excited to come in the door. But you're still in retail, so you do have to incentivize your team to just go that little bit extra mile. Obviously, AOV is the biggest thing that we're looking for. How much can we drive up that cart cost? And I think that it's hard to show up every day and be excited about that. So we definitely incentivize our teams through little contests that we have throughout the week, and some of the vendors help out with that. But also in Ohio, we're so regulated, we can't do a lot of the fun things that other states get to do. So we do have to get creative with it. And a lot of that is through fun competition throughout the teams. Luckily, we have competitive team members. And we also have to target those incentives to continue to get the word out for us. So what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on, again, like what that survey might be that you push out after the person leaves, Google reviews, everything out there that's going to show the next person that you guys know what you're doing. So there's so much involved with that. And again, you have to make your team excited about that. So we have our little tricks, and most of it involves food and money. But it's fun to really get creative with those contests.
Yeah, as far as money's concerned, I've actually talked to a couple other dispensary owners, and they've mentioned some sort of commission structure where it's like there's X amount of sales that they want to hit, but then if they get anything above that threshold, that would be an additional commission to both the managers and the budtenders. And what I've seen is that has pushed them to upsell, cross-sell, to do that extra mile. It's like they buy a flower eighth and you say, hey, would you like a joint with that? And maybe the five people will say no, but one person will say yes. And if that culture continues on a macro level, there'll be an uptick in sales. Have you implemented anything similar to that?
We have, and it's along that same line of not so much like a true commission you're getting at the end, but we try to find little ways to do bonuses in between. Whether it's whoever has the highest average cart for the night, they might get a gift card. A lot of our stuff is tailored to our team. We actually do like tickets to Ohio State football games, and we just do a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily going into maybe their check at the end of the month, but it is going towards their well-being. Like it's whether it's something that's going to get them out into town, because again, we're in that tough regulated market, and there's a lot of stuff that the state won't let us do. I have heard of people in the state doing the commission process, and that's definitely something that I think people should take advantage of if they're able to do it, because it really does, it allows somebody to own it as well. Like they're owning part of your business, and it's really smart because it makes people want to go that extra mile.
Definitely. In general, cannabis retail is very unique because budtenders are often both educators and salespeople at the same time. How do you train your team to balance product education with actually driving the sales?
So we again focus on that customer service and helping the customers match products with what it's going to help them best. Obviously, if we sell them what they're looking for, they're going to come back for that product. And if we sell them the wrong thing, they're going to go somewhere else and see if that store has what they're looking for. So we ask a lot of questions versus like we could just open up the kiosk when people get in the door and say, here's what we have. Here's the menu, take a look at it. But instead, we're asking them, what are you looking for today? Is there something that you're trying to treat? Are you just here to party? Now that we're in that recreational space, we're able to open it up. Somebody might not be a medical patient, but they might be coming in looking for something medical to treat them. We just make sure that we're communicating with the customer at every point. And sometimes it does come down to somebody coming in and pointing at the kiosk and saying, I want that. And it's very easy. But other times it's talking through the whole process with somebody where we're asking them, what category are you looking for? Are we looking for potency? Are you trying to look at what we have on deals today? So there's so many avenues that you could start with, but our team is pretty good at starting from the basic and then really honing in on what somebody is looking for and getting them that product quickly, and where we're not tying up too many customers in the queue.
That's super smart. And let's talk about Ohio's cannabis market in general and some of the market trends, because from what I've seen, it's been evolving very quickly. From your perspective on the retail floor, what trends are you seeing right now?
We just got pre-rolls, which is crazy that it took this long for us to get them. When pre-rolls hit the market, like about fall of last year, we saw a huge uptick and those units pushing out really quickly is starting to taper off a little bit, and people are starting to move back to full jar flower. Flower continues to crush here in the state, but we are starting to see some changes just in I guess, purchasing habits because the state is again changing a lot of the regulations based on what we can have on our shelves. We're trying to get people just so they won't be shocked by those changes when they do happen. A lot of it has to do with potency and what medical patients can buy versus recreational customers. I think that Ohio is obviously on the consumption side very similar as to what people are consuming, but it's just such a weird space with the outside laws that are the SB 56, where they're now closing down all of the hemp shops and CBD shops here in the state. So there's a lot of confusion. People aren't sure if they're in a dispensary. So we're in like a weird space, but we're really set up to be a really great state market wise. And I think a lot of us are just sitting here going, okay, I know it's really weird right now, but it's going to be amazing. We just have to let the government side work itself out and still float along while that's going on.
Yeah, no, that's wild. And I guess with all these changes happening, do you see any changes in customer behaviors or any specific products that they're purchasing over the last year?
I think it's stayed pretty consistent. Again, with the pre-rolls, that's definitely shifted. I think before you had to actually buy a jar and roll it up yourself. And now when you can just walk in and buy one unit and walk out the door, again, that is such an impact on your average cart. So that's something that we have to continue to structure our deals around, making it, yes, easy to pop in for that pre-roll, but also, hey, while I'm here, I might as well grab these other things because why wouldn't I? It's a great deal. So we're really trying to incentivize people that haven't visited us yet to stop in and check us out, but also just make it easy for the people that have been shopping the whole time to get in and out and make it easy, make it approachable and efficient for everyone. So it's definitely a shifting market, but I feel like we're on the up end. It's going up. We're doing well.
Beautiful. And let's talk about the experience of somebody when they walk into your store. Obviously, the customer service part you have down, but just overall, what makes your store stand out? What kind of walk me through that experience if I was to walk into your store for the first time?
Yeah, we're definitely different than the other stores in the state. We're small and our stores are still somewhat medical focused. Like you're not walking into a Clutch or a Certified where everything is graffiti and bright colors and it's a rec vibe. Like our store is very casual. Our team is very inviting. So you walk in and you'll probably have 5 people saying, "Hey, how you doing today?" Even if they're already with a customer. It's just a very good, feel good space. It's at times hard to get people out because they want to hang out with us and stay in there and chit chat, but it's just like a really good vibe. On the flip side, like if we've got 10 people on the sales floor, 10 people standing there and people waiting outside in the drive-through, our team flips really quick and becomes very quick and efficient to get people in and out. So just really depends on what hour you're stopping by at, but it's a fun place to be. It definitely is.
Yeah, that's important. It's important for people to want to come there and hang out. And obviously, you don't want to hang out too long, but
Right. Yeah. It's been great, but we gotta go. Yeah.
It's like those restaurants where people are just hanging out and like the waiters just politely ask them to leave.
Yeah.
So obviously but yeah, you want them to feel welcome and you want them to want to come back, and by allowing them to stay and hang out, that gives them that freedom to feel like they belong there and keep you guys in mind for later visits. Yeah, great job with that.
Absolutely.
Managing one store is already a big responsibility. Now that you're overseeing 2 locations, I guess internally, how has that changed you as a leader?
It's definitely, I've had to let go of a lot of things and trust people. And that's been really hard, especially when I broke ground on that. That was that Columbus store was one that we I touched every point of it. So when we started working on Cincinnati, I had to pull away from Columbus, and I really did have to trust the leaders there, trust management there to at least maintain the culture and the business, and be able to just step in when things were outside of their control and needed addressed. So doing that did allow me, it gave me a little bit of, at least I didn't have to totally pull away from both stores when Cincinnati opened. I had that Band-Aid with Columbus. So now it does make it really easy for me to spend more time working offsite and getting stuff done that is going to grow the business versus spending time in the store and working on operational stuff. So it probably, if we wouldn't have had Cincinnati, I would probably be still sitting in the Columbus store right now, running every bit of that. But because I can't be in two places at one time, it really did help shape my leadership and allow people to take over things that before it was really hard for me to let go of. I think it was honestly best for everyone that we opened this second store.
And then as far as skills are concerned, are there any particular ones you've developed? Maybe time management or just patience? Anything?
I think
stands out?
patience, 100%. I think my biggest one though, like from an operational standpoint, is delegation. That has always been a problem for me. Just like I said, letting things go and letting people, like trusting somebody else to take care of it. That was my biggest skill throughout this. Communication across teams. That I think it is easy to say, oh, communication is so easy, but you're now trying to relay one message to two separate teams and have to follow up and make sure that those things were received properly and then addressed properly. So there's a lot of follow up. My communication isn't just telling somebody, it's, hey, we got to take care of this, and then following up a couple times, because you mentioned time management. There's no time management in retail. Like, you have no idea what day it is or what hour it is half the time. You're just like, are my stores open or closed? That's it. And you're either on or off. But I think that I've moved from like a coaching to a directing type management style. And that has, I guess, just made it a lot easier for me to do that time management and then help out when I can. So if they don't manage their time 100% accurately, I can jump in and help out.
Yeah, I agree with you on delegation. I think that's probably one of the biggest skills anyone can have in any industry, let alone cannabis industry. And I think a lot of people get it mixed up with delegation and abdication, where abdication is you just completely letting go and just having them do that job and you don't oversee it in any way. But delegation, obviously, you're still overseeing it, but you're just not spending all that time. You're opening up your time, but whoever you're delegating it to, you're still watching what they're doing. You're still giving them feedback and advice, but you're just letting them take ownership of it and run with it without being micromanaging them every step of the way. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's in any scalable business, I feel like delegation is the key. It's just mastering it is the hard part.
That is absolutely. And the non-micromanagement approach is really also really hard to do. So I work on it every day. Yeah.
Yeah, running a dispensary isn't easy. What do you see as the biggest challenge for retail operators in Ohio right this moment?
I would probably say the competition. Pricing is tough. This is such a relationship-based industry that if you're not working with a vendor or cultivator or somebody about getting those products and pushing those units, what are you doing? It really comes down to what you're going to be able to put on your menu and what you're going to be able to have available. We pushed out a lot of stores last year here in Ohio, and it at the same time pushing out pre-rolls, which pulled a lot of the biomass away from the processors, and they were then just being loaded into pre-rolls. So the whole industry just flipped while we were adding all these stores, and it made it really tough. And I think that if you didn't have an existing footprint in the space, that it was really hard to bust out and actually do well. So we still have a lot of these newer stores in the state that just aren't doing well. So we're very fortunate that we got in when we did and had a little bit of time in that medical market to show people what we could do. And then once rec went, it just went crazy. But now that adding all these other stores, I think there's a lot of people fighting for customers. And again, we're just really fortunate that we have our kind of loyal locals fan base that show up every day. And we're going to continue to stay competitive and while staying compliant and still making money. Like, you got to protect your margins. And that's, again, goes back to those relationships with those vendors. How do we get the best pricing? How do we push the most units and have the best sales to get people in the door? And that's usually my job.
Yep. And I love the name of your dispensary, Locals.
Oh, thank you.
It pretty much says what you just explained. It's the loyal customers, the people who live close by, who come back quite often, who love the experience, the typical local person. So
Absolutely.
fits right
And
right in.
it was really tough to do that in Cincinnati because I'm not from Cincinnati. I had to walk into that space and say, no, I am. This is still a local dispensary. It's locally owned, and our entire team is Cincinnati, and they are the heart of it. They're amazing. And I see that store, it very quickly became at the same level as Columbus, and I see it continuing to move past Columbus.
Beautiful. All right. Before we wrap up, what advice would you give to someone who wants to build a career managing cannabis retail operations?
I would definitely suggest just getting in there and start as a bud tender. I think that is a lot of our leadership team comes from people that started off as bud tenders. I feel like if you haven't done the job, you would have a really hard time leading a team, getting them to do that job. So one of my favorite things to do when I'm in the store is hop on register and check people out. I think that it's something that is really important to talk to the people. Why are you here? How'd you get here? What are you buying today? What's going on with you? And just really get that perspective of like, why did you choose my store today? And then when people realize that you're the owner, they really think it's fun. Oh man, the owner checked me out. And I'm not always there, but it is something that I think is really important. So if you're able to really do well in that bud tender position, because it's the hardest one there is, and you decide that you want to move forward, talk to your management. Now, if you are just trying to get into the market to open a store and you've got the money, hire really good people like that know what they're doing, that have been doing it, because putting people into a dispensary, into a retail setting in any shape or form without retail experience is a nightmare for both sides. So you really have to make sure that people understand what they're getting into, especially retail alone is tough. Retail cannabis is wild. So we say every day retail is a beast, and like cannabis retail is the biggest beast of them all. You really have to be prepared what you're getting into. And I can't even stress enough the compliance factor of it. Like, I've read just about every regulation for cannabis in this state, and I still don't understand half of it. You really have to understand what space you're working in to know how to do it in a compliant way, or you're just going to be paying so many fines that it's not going to be worth it. I guess it'd be compliance, understanding what you're selling, understanding your margins and your numbers, and just be able to move quickly and adapt quickly because the industry changes every day.
Yeah, it's always changing in every state, in every locality. Wonderful insights. Mandy, thanks again for joining me today. And thank you everyone for tuning into the Green Margin podcast. We'll see you next time.